Hi, this is Shane Starr on a beautiful Sunday in South Orange County, California. Today I'm introducing my new series about typology and self-actualization. And what we're going to be doing here is combining typology, something that's a passion of mine, with philosophy, which is something that is not only a passion of mine, but something I actually have an education in. So there have been a lot of videos lately from a variety of people saying that typology is basically worthless as a means for self-improvement. And while I can understand where they're coming from and have no doubt had some of my own frustrations on this count, let's see if we might be able to prove them wrong by focusing on a couple of things that we can work on with MBTI, Socionics, and Enneagram to help make you the best version of yourself that you can be. So how are we going to do this? First of all, we're going to focus on some specific functions, or in Socionics elements. In Enneagram, it's going to be your basic average health individual. So we're not talking about the lead function. You're already excellent in that. Don't need anyone's help for that. We're not talking about the creative function. You're already good in that, and you have personal flexibility and adaptive abilities, so you don't need that. When we talk of the polar function, that is point of least resistance, your vulnerable function, your weakest function, seventh in MBTI, fourth in Socionics, there's a little or no hope for us there, so we're going to ignore that one. We're also going to ignore the fifth and sixth function. In Socionics, that's your ignoring function and your demo function. Because they're three-dimensional and fourth-dimensional, you're good at these. Even if you don't value them, you're good enough, you can get by, you don't really care. So where does that leave us? That's all the things we're not doing. This leaves three functions where I think we can get the most cash value for our efforts, and that is, in MBTI, we're looking at the tertiary function and the inferior function. We're looking at these same two functions in Socionics, which is your mobilizing function and your suggestive function. And then finally, last but not least, where I think we would really do well if we have the discipline to make it work, that would be our eighth function in MBTI, otherwise known as our role function in Socionics. So those are the three. For MBTI, it's tertiary, inferior, and demon function. In Socionics, we're looking at the mobilizing, suggestive, and role functions. All right? So let's do a little bit of background on each of these. Why the suggestive or inferior function? Well, even though we're not good at it, we care, we value it. It's our second weakest function in Socionics. It's the suggestive function, one-dimensional, but we do recognize and understand its importance in our lives, and we want to improve here. It's theoretically not self-producing, so we're not going to get a lot of value out of it, although it can be used as a good auxiliary, almost like a mini creative function, helping your role. We'll get to that later. But the inferior function, it's there, it's part of our personalities, and we can use it in a lot of ways to strengthen our other functions, specifically our role function. I would like to think of the suggestive function almost like a wingman. Even though the wingman's not as strong as you, you depend on the wingman to get done what you need to get done. And I think that's the way I would see it anyway. It's not as strong as your role function, but it is more valued, and you can use it in tandem to make things better. For instance, if you are an LSE in Socionics, ESTJ and MBTI, and your role function or element is FE. You don't do especially well with crowds. You try to just act appropriately, make sure you don't screw up, just do enough to get by. How can you make that better? Well, your suggestive function, which you value, even though it's weak, it's FI, and you do care about that. You can use your FI to strengthen that FE. You can kind of make one-on-one conversations, get in a little group, and have good relations that way, which will in effect strengthen your overall impression as far as the FE larger group stuff goes. All right, so since we're talking about the role, why the role function? I think the main reason I'm including the role function in here is because we use it a lot. It's our way to act with others in social settings or work settings. We sort of use it to mask our weakness in our other areas, especially instances where our lead function is inappropriate. So again, let's say you are an LSE. Your lead function's TE. You work. You're energizer, work mode, get things done. And now, hey everyone, guess what? We're having a surprise party for the boss. Everyone kick back, get a drink, sit down, relax. Now, no work talk right now. Let's just chill and have a good time. It's like you're TE base. What do you do? It's like, oh man, hey, can I get this done on the side? No, come over here and sit down with the rest of us. You're gonna relax. Okay, so now you're stuck in your role function. TE's not gonna work here. That's where you draw on your FI for help if you're an LSC, and you talk one-on-one with someone, and then you get by that way. You can do the same little model with each of the functions and each of the types. So, the sources I've read in both classical socionics and World Socionic Society teach that the role function is something we can learn and it's teachable. In other words, we can get better at it. It's just, it's not easy. It's work. I think Jack from World Socionic Society said it's the doing the dishes function. And I think that's the perfect way to think of it, as it's work. We don't really like it. We don't really value it. We do understand, however, that the rest of society seems to value it. So this is something we have to do. It's like, why do I gotta blank, 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 And you don't like it, but you do it. And again, it's like a mask. It's something you fake it till you make it, Think of, doing the dishes or helping a friend move. It's easy for me to think of FE situations here. I know you can think of them with other stuff, TI problems, for people with role SE, that would be moving around, like helping someone move, like literally, those kinds of things. They're necessary to have high functioning in the society we live in, but we don't like to do it. So in our quest for self-improvement, this is the one that you're going to really have to put in the work, because that's the kind of function it is. So if you focus on your role, that's what you're doing. It is important. Put in the work to experience the benefits. Okay, now our fun one, the tertiary function. This is our try-hard function. A lot of people who have been mistyped, I would even throw myself into this mix. I think a good common mistyping is to think your third function is your lead function, or vice versa. This is our try-hard function. This is our show-off function. This is where we value it. We're not so great at that we're good already and take it for granted. We don't suck so bad at it that there's no hope. We're the B minus C plus student here, trying to get better, hey, look what I did over here. And when we enjoy success in it, we want the whole world to know. This one isn't work like the role function. I think we get the most enjoyment out of our lives by improving this function or element. If you only want to zero in on one function with our series, this is probably the one to go for, because it will benefit you and it will be fun. The role function will benefit you and it won't be fun. The suggestive function will be a little bit helpful, but you're probably not going to have as much potential in that area as you will the tertiary. So again, we call it the child function in MBTI, where we love to show it off, but we're not quite as good with it as we think we are. I would, again, to use one last analogy, I would compare it to being the kid who turns in a research paper and you put in some work and you think you aced it, and you get it back and it's like a low B or a high C, and you're just like, what? And that's where we're at. So let's see what we could do together to bring our grades up on this function. All right. Next, Enneagram. Same strategy as with the MBTI and Socionics. I don't want to focus on high health levels. I don't want to focus on worst unhealthy levels, which I sort of treated in my last video. That was about the Enneagram and drug abuse. What we're looking for with the Enneagram is standard modus operandi, aiming at maximal achieving self-improvement for average to good health levels. If you're great at something, you don't need the help. If you're awful at it, you're probably a lost cause. So we're looking at just standard, an average person of each type, and we'll find literature that will help you there go from average to great. So what's our strategy? Again, we're going to tie in our typology knowledge with the best works in the history of modern philosophy. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in philosophy from University of Southern California and Yale University, so I think I'm well versed in philosophy. I absolutely believe in the positive benefits and life-changing quality and impact that good books can have on us. I don't think reading the entire work will be necessary. I think I'll give you the idea and the main thematic points that I think are important, especially those that connect with the target functions that each work will represent. And then, after making that connection, you can then read the work or notes of the work with typology in mind. Like for the TE philosophy masterpiece we're going to read, you will be thinking TE while you read it, and it will give you points that you can correlate. You can think, yes, all right, yeah, I can understand what the author's saying, and then the main point will be to make that connection in our regular lives. So we'll start each video with a brief summary of our task, which I've already laid out here, but we'll just hit on the main points: self-actualization, target functions, and then an introduction to the philosophical work itself. I'll read some important points, maybe a few quotes, and then we'll close with the most important part, and that's with suggestions on applying the principles laid out in each philosophical masterpiece to our actions in order to improve our functions that we're targeting, with the greater end of improving our personalities and the quality of our lives. So I think one of the best things about my approach here is that you don't even need to be crystal clear about your type to benefit from this. You'll be able to just focus on a function you're trying to improve, read the philosophical work I've correlated with that function, and then take some of the points or make some of your own on ways you can use the teachings of that work to improve that function and to improve your life. Or you can take a holistic approach and look to gain from all of them. In any sense, any way you organize it, it will result in your being better for the experience. I'm looking forward to this series, and I hope you are too. That's it for today. Looking forward to starting probably with, we'll probably go SISE, then TITE, FI, FE, NI, and then the Enneagram in order. All right, that's it. Hit me up in the comments. We'll see you soon. Peace out.